What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. White woman says that white men are the problem. And I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with her. And she makes a lot of good and valid points that should be addressed. Because at the end of the day, white men are in fact the problem. They've been the problem for quite a while. Their need to consume, the need to consume, the consumption, that's a problem. The need to take and conquer is a problem. The inability to share is a problem, right? The lack of oneness with nature is a problem, right? And the thing is, I know it's clearly not all, we always got to say this. Oh, it's not all white people, but it's a great majority of you guys. This is a great big part of your culture, right? To take, to rule, to dominate, to pillage, right? And it's because you guys are the humans that had to, there are two sets of human beings on this planet who had to adapt to serious scarcity, right? And one of those are European people who had to adapt to environments that were very scarce. Therefore, resources were hard to come by, right? And so when you found resources, you really had to hold on to those resources in order to survive. It was a place not conducive for large populations of people, right, to gather in great spots. Because if you were to do that, any place a large amount of Europeans would gather, that will suck up all the resources in the area. So you're talking about sparsely populated areas in Europe, where the citizenry would be sparsely populated throughout, a wide area, not conducive for communal reaching out and talking to your neighbor about sharing some damn sugar and salt, right? You're reaching out to your neighbor, to go on a hunt maybe once or twice a year or something like that, but you're not like interacting with your, next door neighbor. Your main focus is to find sustenance and warmth, right? Because y'all have winters and seasons are complicated. And so you guys developed a society where you guys have been barbarous, right? Because you had to be, barbarism. You had to be a barbarian to survive, right? That's how your societies operate. That's how the structure of your spiritual systems, that's how the structure of your entire society is to take, keep, fight, murder for scarce resources. And then the other group that are like that are the nomadic people of the deserts. They had to do the same thing, but on the hot side of things. But even, the people of the desert, they have a little bit more resources. They don't have to deal with that winter, right? So, but their survival and their need to take and steal and capture resources because of the finite resources they find themselves in creates an aggressive groups of people. That's why you got the Fulani and mostly the Muslim people in the Middle East and in Africa who are causing most of the irrational ruckus is not because they're Muslim, it's because they are nomadic. And nomadic people are inherently more violent because they take, steal, right? They don't have things are not permanent. They don't have the same views on property and on people owning certain parts of the earth, right? It belongs to everybody. It's another set of rules, right? But they're able to commune a little bit better, right? Because they can still live in big groups as long as they have water, right? But as far as food is concerned, they even in the desert communities, easier to find food in the desert than it is to find in your areas, right? Just difficult all around. No sun, no vitamin D. Y'all acclimated to milk to survive. Like y'all human beings morphed quite drastically, in the north, right? And so in this modern society where everybody else didn't grow up like that, like Africans, we are the progenitors of all of you guys. So we've been through all those phases of scarcity. We've been through abundance. We've been through everything. Black people, we've been through, when you talk about deep history, we populated the planet. Native Americans and Polynesians, like the Hawaiians and them, they are the greatest expression of African people on the globe, because without African people leaving Africa, they would have never made it there. And the fact that they made it there says that we are successful. They're one of our greatest success stories, the Native Americans, the Polynesians, because that says that our people who left Africa successfully circumnavigated the entire globe and populated everywhere. And we had to adapt ourselves and our bodies in order to survive in these areas. To be honest, everybody's brown. To be honest, if you look at your skin, you're not white. There's no white people. Everybody's a different blade of a different shade of brown. And there's only two groups outside of Africa that technically exist. That's Asiacoid people, Denisovan mixed Europeans. I mean, Denisovan mixed Asians, right? All the Asiatics, including the Native Americans, right? And then you got the European, Neanderthalic mixed human hybrids. Those are the Europeans and those people up there, But all the phenotypes that you find in European society are just one small sample of the phenotypes you find in Africa. That's natural, comes common in Africa. All the phenotypes you find in Asia and all Asian people globally are just a small sample of the phenotypes you find in Africa. So Africa is really where human beings are, as a group of people. And you guys are small little samples of expressions of Africans. You guys are, for all intents and purposes, still Africans. You just have modified yourselves, throughout time, as we have adapted. It's all about adapt or die, right? Europeans had to adapt or die. But in your adaptation, you guys have become overly aggressive, right? And unreasonable in your aggression and in your culture. And the rest of the world, who have more time steeped into the culture they've created for themselves over the thousands of years they've been here, i.e. the Asians been here for the second most amount of time, obviously, as we created them first, right? And Europeans, you guys are the nucleus in the block. Therefore, you don't have the most experience on this earth learning how to fellowship with your fellow man. Therefore, we, people who've been here longer, we're now following your script, and your script obviously is not working because, you guys being the progenitor of this Western world that you believe is superior, you guys are not producing babies. You guys are not happy. You guys are miserable. You guys are sad. Your societies are depressive, right? That's not advancement. We're regressing under your leadership, right? And so it seems like the world is, leadership is moving, is pivoting to other places. It won't just be one leader, but it'll be a multipolar world where there'll be many aspects, many leadership points on the planet where no one group of people have too much control over another group of people. But, as we advance as human beings and we try to become more civilized, or what we believe is to be civilized, right? We gotta come to a reckoning that, hey, there's a problem, and white people need to evolve. White men need to take responsibility for the things that they do. Like the transatlantic slave trade, the opium wars, the nation building all around the world. The British did, that's all white men raping children. That was just you're talking about 500 years of white men freely raping people. We give it all these grander titles and stuff like transatlantic slave trade. That was a bunch of white people, rich white people going to Africa and stealing mostly females as concubines and men as workers in the field. But the females were there as sex slaves. 14, 13, 12. These are girls. These are not full women being snatched. These are children. You're talking about millions of children being stolen from Africa where white men freely did what they want with zero accountability. Imagine that. A free white man, no camera, no accountability, and you have all of these people you can take advantage of, and they just did it, right? Same thing they did in Brazil, same thing they did in Central and South America, same thing they did in Asia. They conquered and dominated the societies with guns, cannons, right? You got to understand that PTSD in a world that used to be dominated by the strength of a man's power. When the world was dominated by the strength of a man's power, no one defeated the African. The European could not defeat the Asian. Defeat the Asian. The European always stayed in European places. Every now and then they would have incursions into Asia. Every now and then they have small incursions into Africa, taking advantage of desertification in the low population of northern Africa at the time. Taking advantage of little things, little moments in history where Europeans got to a level, but even at that point, all they were doing was emulating African societies, but it metastasized into something perverted as Europeans put more European influences into things that was given to them by the African. Right? That's why you notice all Western society crumbles the exact same way as we see now. Rich white people being greedy and not being held accountable. And because of that, all the structures of society starts to crumble. That's the story of Europe. A bunch of rich white men being gluttonous and neglecting your population and using religion as a backdrop, and raping women, selling their daughters off to make political deals and shit like that. I mean, everybody did that shit. That was part of the thing. But, you know, and they still want to do it now. They're making legislation to make it harder for women to work. They're making the professions that women go into not essential, so that women can go back home. They want women back in the house pumping out babies, and they want them not to have choices. They're trying to go backwards in order to bolster the position of the white man, the rich white man. And the rest of the world is just not trying to have it. We understand that white people want to survive, they want to live, but there's a better way to do it. No other group of race people want you guys to disappear. I mean, that's probably not true. Because of the actions of you guys, most people wouldn't mind if you guys did just all disappear. But if you want to change people's minds on wanting all of you guys to disappear, because every group on the planet has a legitimate reason to wanting all of you guys to disappear. And you can't really be mad at them as much as you guys try to justify it doing that mental gymnastics where y'all win first prize gold every time, summer or winter Olympics, when it comes to that shit y'all do in your head to justify the things that you do in your superiority that's not so superior. Because if y'all were so superior, I wouldn't have need to enslave, and y'all wouldn't have needed to colonize and conquer anything, because y'all could have built y'all white Wakanda by lifting up yourselves from your bootstraps and utilizing the smarts and utilizing your own population, utilizing your own resources, and made something magical happen in Europe. But it never happened. You have to steal from other people to get other people to do it for you. And y'all got to think about that, right? And that's part of y'all mental illness, because y'all, when y'all really think about it, when nobody's paying attention or watching, y'all know that shit's true, right? And y'all white women, y'all enable and let y'all white men be the biggest criminals on the planet. Why not hold them there accountable? And everybody else is screaming like, hey, what do you expect the rest of the world to do to your white man? You know, when the rest of the world knows that the white man is doing that, right? And while the white man tries to play pretend on the internet, pretending or still thinking that people are just as stupid as they used to be, back when they used to be able to say 3 or 4 big words that were longer than 5 letters and people were impressed by them. Now everybody's catching up. They're like, what the fuck are you saying? What are you talking about? They don't mean that. People are becoming smarter than the politician, who's slightly smarter than the people that vote for them. And that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? So this lady was correct. This lady was 100% correct. And it needs to be addressed. And white men, I know, like I said, I know it's not all y'all, but y'all gonna have to have some humility. Find humility. Find it. Because if you don't find it and address this within your community, what's going to happen is other communities will address it for you. And that's not a threat at all, guaranteed. But it's just a fact of the thing, because you wouldn't tolerate this in your community. If somebody was in your house causing havoc and doing these things to your family members, you would give several warnings. You would be as nice as you can and courteous, but at some point you would have to do something about it. So you can't expect other groups not to do something about it and continue. You can't expect other groups to tolerate the things that you think you're getting away with. We all know that you're doing it right now. We have a government where it's controversial to expose white men who like to molest young teenage girls, white girls. Y'all don't even care about your own women. There's a lot of the victims were white women. Y'all don't even care about your white women. And the white women are so naive, they keep backing up their biggest jailer. They keep backing up their biggest oppressor, which is that white man. Which is sad, because white men and women are supposed to be a unit, but it's never been that way. It's never been a way where you white men were unified with your white women. There's no white man and woman love. All I see is white men trying to dominate white women trying to find a way to break away from a white man when she wants her freedom, but then use a white man's rage, you know, when she needs to get away with some shit, or she need to make some shit happen. I see white men and white women using each other, creating political parties. White women are over here, Liberal Party, Democrats. White men over here, conservatives, Republicans, the hardcore racist, white physical racist Republicans, in the indoor closet, quasi racist light liberals. Women, right? And your political and cultural expression got everybody sold up, because we all got to pick sides, and we all got to deal with the consequences of you guys battling on every level of society. So yeah, y'all need to deal with that shit, or society's going to deal with it for you. And that is in fact the truth. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
So this is a tough one to talk about. I don't see any way around it. And let me apologize in advance to those white men who I am acquainted with and respect and love, but you've got to speak what's true. Pedophilia, victimizing of people who you have power over. In this case, the victimizing of children who you have power over. Has anyone noticed that in every arena, it is rich white men who dominate the field? We know Epstein, where it's so distressing that some of the richest men on the planet habitually sexually abused children. SA'd, I think I'm supposed to say, children. And they were tied together in secrecy, in keeping each other's secrets for decades. They were tied together financially. I think it was, if you deal with me financially and you become dependent or become intertwined, you're less likely to ever reveal anything about the things we've been doing in the dark. The same sort of ethic is true in churches, the Catholic Church, which for beyond decades, a century, kept the secrets of the white male priests who were essaying children. The same is true in small pastorates, small churches, where the pastor has a lot of power. Don't anybody say, oh yes, but it doesn't just have to do with that. I mean, a lot of women, still support these people. Sure they do. As long as women are in any way financially dependent on men, they're going to go along with almost anything, and that's just the truth. The latest, and I saw this morning on TikTok, and it was so distressing. The whole latest thing about we're going to declare certain occupational fields as not professional fields. I heard that and I thought, well, that's the dumbest thing. That has no point. What is the point of that? Well, the first thing I looked at was that, if you look at the fields, and I wrote them down, it's like master's degree in education, a CNA, which is a medical helper, physician's assistants, social workers, occupational therapists, physical therapists are no longer, and there's more, they're no longer, I thought they had one thing in common. They were the fields women were in. Now, what does it matter? It matters because if they are declared to be not professional fields, people cannot get financial aid to assist them in getting the education necessary to go into the field. Got it? No financial assistance able for a master's degree in education or physical therapy or physician's assistant. And why does that matter? Reason one, these are fields dominated by women. These are ways women can become financially independent, can become able to support themselves and their families. But number two, I didn't even think about till I saw it this morning on TikTok. And Creator, forgive me please for not noting down your name. These fields, every one of them that I named, are mandated reporters of child abuse. You get me? The white male federal government is saying, oh, they're not real fields anymore. Every one of them is mandated to report signs of child abuse. What to say? What to say? white men are the problem. White men, and white men particularly who desire power, money, are the problem. White men who cannot control their urges are the problem. White men who present a face of honesty and rectitude and caring, but who aren't, who are essaying children, are the problem. The secrecy is the problem. God help us all.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.